Earlier this week, I finally finished my first draft that I have been working on since July 2018. What a relief. I originally planned on doing a really in-depth round of revisions next, but it ended up taking me a little bit longer to finish this book than I expected. And now I'm in a time crunch because I'm having a baby in a month. I know that 1 month or less, if he decides to come early, is not enough time for me to do the kind of revisions I wanted to do, and I don't want to get started on something really in-depth and then have to stop for a few months while I recover and get used to having a baby in my life, because I will totally forget what I was doing. But I also don't want to just put this manuscript aside for now, because I know for a few months I'm probably not going to get much work done. I want to work on it while I can. Maternity leave would really be the perfect time to have it out with beta readers, because then there's something being done with the book, but I'm not the one having to do the work. And once I am ready to work on it again, I have some great notes to work on. Also, part of what took me so long in drafting this book is that I got really tangled up in the plot and the character arcs a few times, to the point where, I couldn't see the forest for the trees kind of thing. And I could really use an outside perspective on what works and what doesn't before I just tear this whole thing apart and start again, which is what I'm always tempted to do with this book. So anyway, now my goal with the time that I have is to just do a really quick and dirty round of revisions and get it fit for beta readers' eyes. So today I'm going to outline what my process is going to look like for the next 2 or 3 weeks, just to clean up this draft a little bit. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to search the document for the brackets symbols, because that is what I use as a placeholder when I am not ready to write something. So sometimes it's part of a scene that I just couldn't figure out how to work, and so I just put brackets and put something epic here. Or it's when I forgot a character's name or didn't have the time, didn't feel like stopping to come up with a name for a rival kingdom or something. I'll just put that in brackets, kingdom name here. So I'm going to go through and search for those brackets and either fill them in or make note of them so that I can figure out how to fill them in during these revisions. Next, I'm going to read the draft from beginning to end. Normally, after finishing a first draft, I would wait a couple weeks before reading it and starting on revisions to get some space. But this one has taken me so long, and I've written the last 10,000 words of it so slowly that I kind of feel like I already have that space. As I read, I'm going to be flagging any big inconsistencies and holes in the story, in the world building, and the characters, because that is the biggest issue that I really want to have fixed before anyone reads it. I said that I got lost in the plot a lot, and that involved changing the plot a few times, including taking what was supposed to be one long book and splitting it into 2 books. So those changes in the plot have caused some inconsistencies along the way. So I really just want to trim up and weave in any of those loose or frayed threads that I just kind of left dangling all over the place each time I changed the plot and the character arcs of the book. Also, as I read, I'm going to be making some notes about things that I might want to work on in later rounds of revisions. Just anything I notice as I read. So maybe some subplots that need to be fleshed out more, characters whose development is kind of wonky or rushed or repetitive, those sorts of things that I would normally look at in a read-through for revisions. I've mentioned before that I'm a big fan of Evernote, which is a note-taking app where you can have notebooks. So I have a notebook for this book particularly, and then you can have pages about different things. So I have pages like revisions notes, characters, revisions notes, setting, revisions notes, major plot. That way I have those pages there and I can pull it up either on my phone or my computer and just jot down a note as I'm reading if I'm like, wow, there was this one thing that I really could work on and rewrite and make better later. Then once I'm done with the read through, I'm going to fix those major inconsistency and plot hole issues I was talking about. So really just making sure that the plot makes sense on a basic level and that the character isn't like, wow, this thing is really important, and then it doesn't come up again because I took it out of the book at some point. Then the final thing I'm going to do once I have this just kind of cleaned up, holes filled in, things mostly make sense, I'm going to make a new spreadsheet for my plot. This is my if I have time item on the list. If I don't get to it before my baby comes, I can do it later, but I would like to make a new spreadsheet with all of the scenes in the order that they're in, filled in with more information about the plots and subplots and character arcs and how they are developed within each scene or chapter. So hopefully I'll have time for that. And I think that'll help me a lot when I come back to this book in a few months with some beta reader feedback to just remember what order the scenes were in and kind of what was going on in each one without having to do a full thorough read through of it again. So yeah, that's how I'm handling a really quick turnaround on revisions. Let me know if you've ever had to do revisions really quickly for some reason and what things you focused on. I'm curious what was most important to you in that situation. And don't forget to join us this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be doing another one of our writing workshops. This time it's going to be on characters. So come with whatever characters you have for an upcoming project or a project you're currently working on, and we're going to help you flesh them out some more.